Welcome back to the pod. Today we have a very special guest. We have the Assistant Athletic Director for Student Athlete Development, Taylor Wright, and our track coach, Gary Newell, is going to help co-host today.
Yep, happy to be here.
So Taylor, you made the jump from academics to this role. What made you want to go from academics to this?
So I've been in just student athlete services for 10 years. I started as an intern at the University of California, Irvine as an unpaid intern. Now our student athletes get paid for internships, but I never knew there was that aspect of college athletics, of like academics and just support from staff members. And so I was there for about 8 months before I moved to Chicago for my master's program. And I loved it. I had just graduated from college, and it was a way for me to give back based upon my experience as a college student, and how I was able to be set up for success minus the sport aspect. So got my master's from Northwestern University in Chicago, and I got my first big-time job it's a long title. All my titles have been long, but in a nutshell, it was academic support and compliance specialist at a JUCO in Des Plaines, Illinois. And I created a whole academic support program from just Googling other schools and just like from my internship, and created an academic program for the student athletes at that school. And so was there for about 4.5 years, decided I was over the cold, so I moved to Florida, working at a Division I community college, kind of doing the same thing. And I was there for a few months, and then my mom got diagnosed with breast cancer, so I moved back to California. I promise there's like a whole story to this. Moved back to California, and she's doing fine now, and my parents were like, okay, time for you to go get a job again. So I applied, and I landed kind of my dream job, which was to be an assistant athletic director at a Division I institution. So in 2019 is when I was at the University of the Pacific in Stockton, California, overseeing all of the academic support for the student athletes. Landed this opportunity at Fresno State years after, working with our baseball, volleyball, and track and field team. But I felt, because it had been 10 years, I needed to like go in a different path. Like I just needed my impact to be served differently. Okay. Especially with this generation, I just feel now, also me being older, I see that they don't have as many resources that I feel I had when I was their age. And so with the whole NIL and now the student athletes getting paid, I want to be able to set up our student athletes for success in that way. Not saying my number one goal for them is not for them to graduate, but I also want them to be able to be successful in the real world, because it's scary. And so I preach that to them all the time, and I kind of just felt my service was better in this aspect. So the opportunity came up, and I was able to land the job, and it's been fun, it's been challenging, but every day I have to remember what my why is to keep going. I'm pretty sure like that's any of us that work in college athletics is we do it for the why. And my why is to continue to be there for the athletes, whether it's on a professional level, personal level. I just know how great my impact has been, and I want to continue that. But it is challenging. So I been doing this now for a year in student athlete development, and I learn something new every single day. Or when a student athlete does something, I'm like, oh, we need to probably do a workshop or get a guest speaker, or I need to get in contact with someone that can probably help support you in whatever they may come about. But it's been fun, and I'm very thankful to have been able to switch into the student athlete development side.
Yeah, and I'm sure our athletes really appreciate it because it's been really impactful for them. So
Yeah.
So you went to Spelman. So how has that experience shaped the way you approach your athletes and how you work with them?
Yes, so for those who may not know what Spelman is, it is a historical Black college university. It's actually the number one historical Black college university for like the 19th year in a row. Okay. But it's also an all-girls school. So for me, growing up in Orange County, being basically the only Black girl wherever I went school, my parents did a great job of making sure that I was around people that looked like me. But as far as college, my parents said I couldn't go to college in California. So that like crossed off a lot of my choices. And so I knew I wanted to be around people that looked like me. But it was an easy decision for me to go to Spelman just because of the historical aspect of it. My cousin went there as well. My other cousin was at Clark University, and it was by far the best 4 years of my life. Obviously, we've all graduated college. Like, college is fun, but on an impact side, I like grew as a person, as a Black woman and someone that's from Orange County that had to fight many racial battles sometimes. And so it made me be more confident in myself that I feel sometimes we all lack in some aspect, but it made me just feel fearless. It made me realize that like I can do anything that I put my mind to. And I know what it was like to be the only. I know what it was like to be nervous, networking, stepping out of my shadow. And so I take all of that and make sure I apply it to the student athletes, whoever I come across, whether you're Black, white, Hispanic, what have you. In my eyes, you're all one. And I just want to make sure that they kind of can feel the same experience that I felt being in college and having that growth factor. And so I just make sure that I stay true to what I've always embedded in my mind, which is just to be yourself and to stand strong and to be able to give that to our student athletes.
With all the pressures that the student athletes experience, how important is it to have community, not just within the athletic department, but finding that outside?
It's very important. I mean, I tell them every day you're more than the athlete, because after 4 years or 5 years, yes, you may go pro, but not everyone goes pro. So like, who are you after this identity that you've had since 2 or 3 years old? And so I kind of help them find that through the workshops, through just being that safe space for them, listening to them, hearing what it is that they may need from me, what type of support that I can do to help them have that sense of community. We are a very diverse department as far as our student athletes go. And me being a minority, I think it's really easy for me to relate and kind of share that identity with them and to understand what it is that they need, because sometimes I need that too. And so I'm very big at making sure everyone feels accepted and that they can lean on whoever it is. And so through the workshops, through the events, through celebrating the different heritage months, I think that's like really important to build that community within our student athletes.
So along the lines of community, what are some ways that you make sure student athletes feel seen and valued and supported here?
Yes, so if you come in my office, Gary has seen it. It's literally like a safe space / lounge, especially if I have food. But
More students than chairs.
Yes. And I feel they're able to just lift this like hood off of them when they're in my office. And so I just make sure that they can just be themselves. And I feel like it's so hard for people to just be themselves in certain areas. And so I don't want them to ever think that they just can't unwind in my office. And so we have laughter, we have cries, we're all just sitting in silence. I'm doing my work, they're doing their work. They just need to be around somebody. And so during that time, it's been so cool to see like our football players interact with like our volleyball players or like our equestrian girls that are in my office. Like, it's really cool to see like that's like the place that they're mingling with people. I mean, obviously the nutrition lounge or athletic training room, but I have just noticed like the friendships that they build in my office. And so with that, building that community, we started our Black Student Athlete Alliance group 2 years ago. And that started from an former track and field student athlete, Trinity Williams, who kind of came to me asking for that sense of community. And that year we were able to attend the Black Student Athlete Summit in Los Angeles. And for them, they were able to interact with other Black student athletes from across the world. Or, well, erase that, not the world, across the country. And so from there is how we formed our Black Student Athlete Alliance Affinity Group. And it's just a safe space for not just our Black student athletes, but our allies as well, their teammates, to come and just hang. Like, we'll do a game night, we'll do a Friendsgiving. We had guest speakers come talk about financial literacy and just what it is to be, or what it feels like to be a Black student athlete, series talks. And from there, I've been able to kind of gather our Hispanic student athletes and then our international student athletes as well. So just celebrating our different ethnicities is really, really helpful for us as a whole to be more educated as well. And I'm a huge believer of storytelling, and I just feel giving our student athletes that community outside of the sport is just the whole holistic experience of our student athletes, basically.
I liked when you said that you're a safe space for them in some ways, because I think part of being part of the support staff is that as coaching staffs come and go, as they have problems within, this and that, we stay the same, right? And so sometimes we are their outlet, I guess you could say, right? So for anybody who's interested in a role like yours that's listening to this, what does a day in your life look like?
It changes every day, every minute, every hour. I was telling someone this, that between 8 to about 11 is my me time. That's literally the time that I can get my emails done. I can just sit in silence and get work done. Kind of map out what the week is going to be, or start looking at different dates for events. Coming 11, I don't know what it is, but it's just one student after next, after next, after next. But it's them coming in, asking, needing help, support, or it's a vent session. And then there's that 2-hour gap. It's really weird. Between 2 and 4, it's quiet again. And then at 4, I think that's when most students are done with weight training and practice. They're back in my office. And so during those times with the students, I'm listening to them, but I'm also still getting my work done. But it's I turn into a counselor, and I'm able to really have them I just listen, just let them vent and feel comfortable. And I am no means a psychologist, but I do have some years above them now, 15, which is kind of crazy, but I'm able to share my experience and provide that support. And so I think that's why I love what I do, because I can have that balance of still making sure I'm staying on top of the work aspect, but still being that sounding board for the student athletes. And so some days it varies. Fridays are probably the best days, because that's when either teams are traveling, students are done with study hall, they went home, they're not in the office. So I get the most work done. Mondays can be a little iffy too, but dang, that Tuesday through Thursday, it's traffic here and there. And sometimes Gary will come and he just stop in and say hi, because he really does not have a seat.
Do you have candy in your office? Because
I do.
Yeah.
He finds the candy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Right now, I don't have any candy because candy is expensive. And they're like, well, when are you going to get the candy again? I said, well, when I get paid again. Or why don't you just give me the candy, as a surprise?
Yep.
It's crazy. Or go to the store.
I think, too, this is a lot of their first time away from home, these student athletes. And so they really do need the sounding board sometimes. I've had athletes send me pictures of trash bags and say, what size gallon trash bags do I get? I'm like, well, what size is your trash can? What do you mean? But it's just little questions like that, because it is their first time being away from home. And I'm sure Gary can relate with his team as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's all kinds of random things that seem simple to us. They're complex questions that athletes need to have answered.
Sometimes I'm just did you really just ask me that? Or like, was I like that? Or
It's kind of refreshing, though, I think.
it is. It is refreshing, but it's like, wow, like.
Then you wonder, like,
Ooh.
was I like this when I was in college?
But we were, for sure.
We were just differently. Oh, I know I was.
Yeah.
Just different. But
Yeah.
it's funny. It is funny to see. Like now, I feel when I first got started, I had just graduated. So I was like 2 to 3 years like apart from the student athletes I worked with. And now we're with Gen Z, and I'm a millennial. Like I really do see the difference. And it makes me like, dang, am I really like that old? Or wow, like I'm kind of hip. Like I can still like keep up with like what they're doing, but it's just crazy how fast time is going.
I know.
I think that's really the issue.
Yeah. I was actually talking with somebody yesterday who's the same age as us, and we were talking about how music from the 80s and 90s are to us what our music now is to this current generation, which is crazy to think about. So
Crazy.
They're having Y2K parties.
yeah.
Crazy.
So obviously, you know, going back to you being able to connect with all these different student athletes, you get to know them on a pretty personal level. So why are Heritage Months important to include inside college athletics?
Because our student athlete population is made up of so many different cultures. And one, I think it's for those specific student athletes to feel seen. They love when we acknowledge just who they are, especially our international student athletes. But we're all a family. And I feel for us to be a family, we have to get to know where we all come from or just who we are like as a person, as a culture. And as I mentioned earlier, we are so diverse that our fans and other people who are listening would be really impressed of the background of our student athletes. And so I obviously celebrate Black History Month, but when I stepped into this role in serving as the ADID, Athletics Diversity Inclusion Designee, I originally had put together newsletters that would highlight the different heritage months. And building those newsletters, I learned so much about different cultures and like the way that it made me feel to know that like, wow, like there's amazing like podcasts, women of color, there's authors, there's just important people, there's Hispanic-owned restaurants in Fresno to go to. Like that to me was really impressive. And so I think us acknowledging that is the makeup of our department. So like we're a family, and so we should celebrate where we all come from and what we all do. And so I try my best to make sure that I do give that light to specific ethnicities for our different heritage months. Sometimes it is a little scary, but the main thing is to educate ourselves on different heritage and be able to understand our community in that aspect. So I try to do my best, but try to go and celebrate all of our different months, all of our student athletes, our coaches, and our staff members. And so what has helped me is reaching out to the student athletes that identify in certain heritages and ask them what it is that we can do that is celebrating your culture. And I feel that has helped more than me Googling and like not really understanding the heritage, but how could we celebrate your culture? How can we learn about your culture? And so right now we're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and Bella from our women's water polo team came to me with ideas. And if it wasn't for her, I don't think we would have still celebrated it, but it's just easier to hear from someone that is a representative of that culture how we can be better allies and better supporters. And so last night we had salsa and guacamole making class. Today, Dr. Torres' dance group is going to do a little performance and do a little Latin salsa-like class. And then tomorrow we're doing Hispanic game night. But it's just for other teammates and their peers to celebrate who they are. And so I just think, again, our department is made up of so many great just ethnicities and people that in order for us to be one, we have to get to know, we have to understand, we have to educate ourselves to be those allies. So, yeah.
How have you seen these events you put on create a better sense of belonging within the community?
Ooh. I think we're still learning, and that is okay, because I don't think that's what it's all about, is to continue those conversations. We can't just check the box like, okay, we did something for Hispanic Heritage Month, we did something for Black History Month. Like, the conversations have to continue, and it does start with us as being support staff, as being admin, and I think that's why I wanted to do the book club, because, yeah, we're tying, like, our favorite genres, but also looking at different authors of specific backgrounds and specific events that are happening to educate ourselves. And so I think as a whole, I think our whole society we have a lot of work to do, but that's the thing about learning. Like, you're always learning. And I've seen some of our student athletes kind of step out of just that black and white mentality, but like wanting to be allies of their teammates. And like, for instance, for our Black student athlete, we had Alliance Group, we had a game night, and some of our non-Black student athletes on the track team they've came to Friendsgiving, and even last night, it was all different ethnicities just learning about the culture. And so I feel the more that we put on these events and send out information, highlight our student athletes, I think that's going to help us get to where we should be as forming, being better allies.
What's your approach to ensuring that, I mean, you've already kind of talked about it a little bit, but what's your approach to ensuring that these things go beyond just the 1 month celebration? I mean, if it feels like you've already kind of built that community and those relationships, but what does that look like?
It's hard. Mm-hmm. It's really hard when you're kind of doing it on your own. I think our academic office I'm grateful for them and their support to kind of continue those same type of conversations with the student athletes that they come across. I know, like, for me, it's just embedded, like, just to continue to educate. And so even if someone doesn't look at an email of mine or like a posting, like, that's okay. It's going to touch somebody. I think, again, to the point of the book club, like, that was my way of just not checking the box, or we did 28 days, 30 days of celebrating, but we're expanding and continuing. And so I try to do my best. I try to educate my peers that are around me to just be mindful of to be mindful of the makeup of our student athletes and to learn about them outside of the sport and like what makes them who they are. And I hope that I impact other staff members to do that, because that's what I do. And so our student athletes look up to us, and I feel if we're just looking at them as just like them in a jersey, they can feel that. Like, they really can feel that. And so when you just get the time to just learn about them, I feel like without celebrating, that's getting to continue that conversation. And so that's one thing that I do, make sure that I get to know all of our student athletes in that way. So then when I'm talking to Gary, I'm like, well, did you hear about this student athlete? Or if I'm talking to you, like, did you know about the softball player that is doing this back in their community for the Hispanic community? And that's how I know I can do that, and I hope that I can impact others to do the same thing.
So outside of just inclusion, you have to get these student athletes ready for the next stage of life.
Yeah.
And I know you did the skill bridge for the football team over the summer, so talk about that.
Yeah, it was really fun. So Coach Entz previously did that at USC, and I believe at his other school as well. And I've heard of Summer Bridge. Other colleagues of mine at other schools did that, and I leaned on them a lot, and also just getting the thoughts from Ben and Coach Ince of what the model they wanted for their freshmen. And so they're probably the best freshman group I've ever worked with. Like it was so neat to see them grow from being shy to being like who they are right now, probably that you probably are around them. But the Summer Bridge is a transitional program for our student athletes, our freshman student athletes. I'm actually in the process of kind of developing a transition workshop for our transfer students, because we do get a lot of transfer students in the spring, especially for football and volleyball. But the first week, it is just laying the foundation. So setting expectations, them getting acclimated to our resources on campus, the academics aspect, the eligibility aspect. The second week, it's all about who they are. What is the legacy that they want to leave at Fresno State? What is a goal that's not an athletic goal, but a personal goal for the year? I mean, I know we all want to get 4.0s, like who doesn't? But what is it that you want for yourself? And those goals were created on an assessment that they did about themselves and areas that they could really focus on to grow in that year. And so that's what the second week was all about. The third and the fourth week was life skills. So they did a financial literacy, how to save and how to budget. We had a mental health discussion, and then they did a community service visit at Valley Children's, which was so beautiful to see. And then the last day that they did a scavenger hunt, which you can only give them so many resources for them to not know where to go, but it was okay. But it was a friendly competition, which I thought made it really fun. Because as you guys may know, most of our athletes are so on our side on the Student Athlete Village, and they only go to class. They're not going to all the different buildings on campus. So that was the purpose of the scavenger hunt. They were not allowed to use their phones because they had to work together. And so they were in a group of 4, but it was just so funny to see because I know it was so hot that day, but they did it. And I thought Summer Bridge went really well for it being the first time we ever did it. I forgot to mention we also added a nutritional aspect. So Kelly did a little presentation in activity with them as well. And then Sav and Stephanie did the NIL component and just social media etiquette. So all things that are to help build them for success. Now, did all of it stick to them? No, because they're still asking where certain buildings are, but they just remember that they learned it in Bridge, and that's really all I care about is that there's some stuff that they remember from that. And so I'm hoping we can expand in the summer and have like our basketball freshmen and our volleyball freshmen and soccer. Those are the teams that report in the summer to kind of get them adjusted. And I feel having a mixed group of student athletes, that'd be fun. That's like building their first like community of like other freshmen kind of navigating the same journey as them. So it was really fun. It's good.
Yeah. You deal with a lot of serious stuff, but what are some, like, I guess recently, what are some joys you've had, or when you've gotten home, you've been like, wow, that was great. Like, I'm really making a difference, or a laugh that you had or something like that.
Obviously graduation, especially because I started as an advisor. So the group that just graduated, they were sophomores. And to see them walk across the stage made me cry a little bit. Seeing Murph, Stransky, Anchor, Krem, and Bobby get drafted because those 4 were freshmen. And every day they would tell me, well, I'm getting drafted. And of course, like, yeah, I know you're good, but like I need you to do this assignment. I need you to do well in the classroom. But to see them like conquer that was so freaking cool. And just like in any student athlete that I've come across that has made it to that next level, it's so rewarding because even in student athlete development role, you just see them have to deal with the school aspects. So it's so fun to even see them compete. It's like night and day because in the academic center, they're just in their practice clothes, they're dragging their feet, they don't want to be there, and they let us know that as soon as they get in that they don't want to be there. And then it's like a light changes when they're on like the court in the field or in the pool, that you just see their passion, and like that's so like warming to see. And then obviously just like the growth of our students. And Gary and I, we've had this conversation with some of your track girls, how they were as a freshman and how they are now. Not saying they're like 100% perfect, but like it's just the little things. Because sometimes when you are having certain conversations, like now I know how my mom felt. Like I know that's like going through one ear and out the other, but them just saying thank you, or that I appreciate you, or that even they're checking in on me, like that is, it just warms my heart, because our job is tough. It's hard that we have to come in, like we're not dealing with our own stuff outside of work, and have to just be on. It is very difficult. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But when the student athletes see what we give and they're appreciative, even if it's 2 years from now or the day of or 5 years later, like it just makes me really happy and very like, okay, I can see my why working through me, and I'm okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Last question for me. If you're going to give advice to someone who wants to go into a role like yours or make a difference within their athletic department, what would you say?
Ooh. You really, and I'm just being very transparent, you really have to, that why has to be there. It is, our job's fun, but it can be challenging. And I mean, just with any job, if you don't love it, it's really hard to keep going. But just for my job, a lot of student athletes are like, I want to do this job. And okay, but are you ready to be that sounding board? Are you ready for late night texts that they didn't submit something, or that they failed a class? And like, are you ready for that? Because that does take out a lot sometimes. But it just, again, all goes back to, do you have that passion of wanting to help others? Do you have that passion of wanting to give back to others and make a difference? Because if you do, you can be successful. Definitely in my field, but definitely in college athletics. Like, if you're wanting to make that impact for that group that you're serving, then you'll be unstoppable. But still, on those bad days, just remembering what your why is, then you'll be fine, regardless of what you do. But it, like I said, has its ups and downs. But just have to stay with it. You just have to just keep on pushing and just be that support that you know, like that was your calling for. So I know that's how I get through my days, is remembering that. And again, with any job, just not with mine, just always remembering that you'll be fine.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, everyone, for watching the pod today. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month, and we'll see you next time.